Hi, this is James Melendez, James the Wine Guy, here to talk about low to high alcohol content wine. Now, that's important because I think there's a lot of people that are just automatically assuming, and I think in some degree, I've been guilty of that myself. So I'll just start off and giving that disclaimer right now. I have been guilty of saying, wow, that's too high of an alcohol. And I wouldn't give absolute thought in terms of, well, this is the region, this is the variety. And I thought much more critically about it and been tasting more wines, obviously, and to getting to that point of just coming up to a more cautious view of that. That's not to be a fence sitter, it's to be a level setter. That is, when I think of alcohol in wine, of course it has to be there in order to be wine. But you can't go too high or too low, and it depends on there's different variations. You're going to have weather that's going to come into play and maybe make that a higher alcohol slightly by half a point or a percentage, and then you have it go the other way around too. Now, there are some wines, and I brought examples here. This is a 15.1 wine. This is Cesar Tosi, and this is Toski. This is a Zinfandel, and it's a touch of Charbonneau, 20%. And this is a Terran. This is a Terzolo. That's the maker. And this Terran is about 12.8% alcohol content. This is a Castillo de Montserrat, and this wine is about 12.5% alcohol content. Now, I would say that Grenache here, for example, is one that has a wide variation span. You can go from pretty low to high in the 14.5, a little bit higher range, and do quite well. Now, you have Zinfandel, and when I think of some wine directors in the US, for example, who have excluded certain percentages, if it's above this percent, it cannot be poured at their restaurant. And in some examples, you're excluding whole classes of wine. Think of Petite Sirah and Zinfandel and Charbonneau, which I know is not a huge production wine, but those things will be automatically excluded on some menus. And that's unfortunate because I think in my estimation is that Zinfandel, Petite Sirah, Charbonneau can handle a lot of alcohol and do quite well. And there are some Zinfandel producers who tend to go on the higher side, which is interesting because I think I'm getting some flavor characteristics that are slightly different. The varietal can definitely handle that, and that's the beauty of Zinfandel. Now, there's other varietals that just don't do well with a lot of alcohol, and I understand that. And for me, if I have a 15.5 Pinot Noir, I notice it immediately and put it down. It's just not drinkable. It's not something that I seek out. It's not something that I enjoy. And I think a lot of people don't. So when you think of alcohol in wine, there is some value in a higher or lower or a midpoint. It all depends on the wine that's being served, the stylization of wine, that artistic winemaker input that gives that that particular characteristic of wine. So when you seek wines out, seek them out and give maybe a try in terms of maybe Syrah from lower to higher. And that's another varietal that can handle a lot of alcohol and do quite well. Cabernet, I think it can go either direction. Depends on the blend itself. Depends where it's coming from. And you get a lot of theme and variation on a lower alcohol content wine. So just like, say, salt in food brings out flavor characteristics that are maybe not going to be immediately recognized, but a little dash of salt is going to bring up that flavor characteristic in the food being served. Same thing with a little bit of alcohol. Depends on that. You have to be obviously, not in the 17% range, 16% range, and definitely variety dependent. So that's my just I wasn't say 2-second update. It's much longer than that, but it's my way of just expressing that caution point of saying, think about the alcohol and don't, give it a try. Taste it. If you're at a wine event, try the higher alcohol content in terms of the variety and see if you like it. If it's your style, then that's great. If not, then move on to the one that is going to fit your characteristic. But also, when you go to a restaurant, seek out what they have as well and find out the reason for that. I ask, and really, when I get those answers back, it hones back to, first of all, very politically carefully worded language, but it's also like, oh, okay, that's because it's your palate. So I try to be very careful about that. And so if you see some early reviews, I may have been really cautious on too much alcohol, but I'm really more cautious now on the variety as it appears in the blend and the artistic impression and the output. So for more reviews, please go to jamesthewineguy.com. Please subscribe to my videos on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, Google+, and Pinterest. Salud.